we're at church. We're gonna go dress for church, and she made us put on like our church clothes. And
No, I would be the
I would be in pajamas.
We just need to stop focusing on people, the leaders, on the celebrity pastor, and we need to start focusing on God.
Right? If something's wrong there, you gotta go fix it. You gotta go do something about it. You can't just run away from all your problems.
Nobody's gonna be perfect in a church. We have to be like transparent with each other, understand that we're sick, right? That we're coming here because we're sinners.
That's actually what leads a lot of people to say, oh, screw religion, this and that. They're all messed up people. They like, right? That's what leads a lot of people to say that. Hey guys, welcome to the CDU Youth Podcast. I'm Carlos. I'm the AY director and the treasurer.
Hi, I'm Yolette. I'm the worship leader and upcoming AY director.
Hi, I'm Sebas. I'm the Sabbath school teacher.
Hello, my name is Hafed Garcia. I'm the youth pastor. So happy to be here.
Now, I wanted to ask you guys about something, right? Because I was at home, right, watching videos as I do. And I came up against something that kind of caught my eye, right? Because it said Hillsong controversy, right? And I was like, okay. So I went on a little like 2-hour binge watching this stuff, right? And I was like, dang, like this is what's really going on. But like, have you guys heard of that? What do you guys know about that? Like about that whole situation?
It's pretty bad, you know. It's a scandal of moral failure and other stuff.
People not holding the accountability has caused people to like reject the Hillsong Church and worship, and people don't know how to react to things like that when it comes from a church.
I don't know a lot about it, so can you guys tell me some?
Okay, so the Hillsong controversy, it started off with the main pastor, I believe, in Australia, in the Hillsong Church, right? It's a mega church, I believe. His dad had committed some immorality, right? And he kind of tried to hide it, right? And so now he went to court for that, right? And he was seeing if he could get charged with that or something like that, right? I've heard of other controversies that have been happening in other churches, even here in the United States, that Hillsong has, right? Of New York. There was even some situations where rape was involved, or inappropriate behavior. We'll leave it at the. But yeah, it's a lot of that, and they're looking at this church, right, which is supposed to be for God, and you see all these things going on, and obviously it catches people's attention, and they start looking into it. Reporters, journalists, anybody, right? And yeah, that's the whole controversy, right? Just a church that's very messed up, per se.
And a lot of people is saying, what do we have a religion? What do we have church? Because look what's happening inside of church.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be a church, a perfect place, a place of love, a place where people just behave well. But when we see that, it's like crazy.
Especially that church, because that, like, from what I understand, Hillsong was supposed to be like this contemporary, forgiving, modern youth place, right? Place. That was seemingly supposed to like go against a lot of like what people thought church was. It was supposed to be like basically the solution for like modern young people for church.
And it's sad seeing that happen, because when stuff like this happens in church, people seem to drift away from church. They seem to think that why would like God let this happen, or why a church that is supposed to be holy, sacred, and perfect, right? Like things behind those doors like happen.
But in reality, I mean, we have to be clear. Church is not perfect. It's not near perfect. There's a lot of messed up people, a lot of people, broken people, and we need to understand that the church is not for perfect people. It's for people like you and me. Broken people looking for healing, looking for redemption, and it's something that we need to have clear because when people see church, they think, this is a perfect place, or I cannot go to church because I have all these tattoos, or because I have all these mistakes in the past. But I think that church is for those kind of people.
Yeah, I feel like people think they're not worthy of going to church. They think like, oh, I have to be perfect. I had to just base my entire life of God. Yes, but it doesn't mean you have to be perfect, because we're born into sin. We're born to sin, sadly. But Jesus died on the cross because of those sins. And that's why he's giving us a place like the sanctuary where we can come and lay down our sins and give them to him so he can forgive us. Because we, like you said, like church is not about perfect people. So,
but for that to happen, there's need to be accountability. And I think that one of the main problems with the Hillsong Church is there was no accountability, no, especially for the leaders. And you just need to stop focusing on people, the leaders, on the celebrity pastor, and we need to start focusing on God. And also, if you're going through a situation, for example, you are going through a temptation or an addiction, and you're in the church, you should speak out. You should look for help. Don't hide it, because there's no one is perfect. So that's the only way you can heal and start over again.
Yeah, no, that was actually a really big thing in the controversy, right? That they hid it, right? For example, the main pastor, he was going to jail because he hid it, right? He didn't tell anybody about what he knew was happening with his dad and sadly underage boys, right? And that's why he was being charged, right? And accountability is very important. Even in New York, right, there was lack of accountability, right? Because this girl, she had been sexually assaulted, right, in the church by one of the leaders from that church. Wow. Right? And she went to the church, right? She contacted them, and they kind of like swept it under the rug, right? Mm-hmm. I think they hid it for like about 5 months where they kind of ignored it, right? Just to see if she would forget about it. Like, what? Right? Yeah, and that just makes it so much worse than if you were like, dang, like they messed up. Let's go tend to this broken person. Yeah. Right? But instead they cared more about that image, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems, right, that we see in a lot of these churches, right? They care too much about, what people think of them and how it looks like or whatever, right? But that's actually something that scares a lot of people, right? That's actually what leads a lot of people to say, oh, screw religion, this and that. They're all messed up people. They like, right? That's what leads a lot of people to say that, right? And
yeah, I think it's a valid question, right? Like, this is not something, unfortunately, that's rare. It seems like anytime I hear news about a church, it's not good news, right? It's never like, man, this church did this awesome thing this week, and let's talk about it.
Exactly.
It's always like some kind of
bad thing.
It's a bad thing, but it's not just it's bad. It's something that like it shows that there are like people in power that are hiding things, right? Like, because this is a contemporary Protestant church. Yeah. We have the Catholic Church and all the history that people are aware of there. So I think it's a valid thing to ask, like, what is going on in religion, right? People label that as religion when you have, multiple instances of corruption and power in these places. So, like, what is going on in places like this? And is religion to blame for this?
Yeah, and that's when I feel like we need to come out and say, like, religion is not about the people, because religion is based off the faith you have for God, right? And that relationship with God is personal. Nothing can really affect it, even though we try and blame outside things for that, like our bad relationship with God. It's a personal thing. It's like either you want it or you don't. And at times we try and grow that relationship, but then there's worldly things that could happen, and we just try and give up on God, and we blame him, right? And we just never blame anything else. Sometimes, like, we don't blame, like, ourselves, right? We just blame God.
We all have a religion. That's the thing we need to understand. Like, even those who say, I don't have a religion, I'm just spiritual. But we all have a religion, because a religion is something that you develop to find meaning and purpose in your life. And for you, that might be sports, or for you, that might be music or whatever. And we can make a religion of everything. And we need to understand that we all have a religion in our life, and we need to accept the first concept. And then we need to understand, as you say, that religion is something that starts in our personal life, but don't stay there. Don't stay there, because religion is also communal.
No, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Religion shouldn't be judged by the people that are in that religion, right? Obviously, like she said, religion isn't about the people, and we gotta like kind of develop in that idea or whatever, right? Because obviously we're not saying don't go to church and spend time with the people. We're not saying don't have these activities with other people. Like, that's not what we're saying, right? We're saying that, for example, you shouldn't judge that religion because of what you see the people do, right? Because of, obviously we're humans, right? We're gonna mess up. Like, there's gonna be a point in your life where you're gonna trip, right? You're gonna fall into temptation. Something's gonna happen, right? Like, it's gonna happen. We're all sinners, and that's what we do, right? And that's why you can't be judging that religion because of them, right? Let's say the pastor messes up somehow. You can't say, oh, this religion is trash, they're all fake, they blah, blah, blah. You can't be saying that because that's the pastor. He's a human just like you are. Like, nobody here is perfect, right? And I think that instead we should really just focus on the core beliefs, right? In order to judge that religion. Right. And you should just kind of focus more into God when it comes to seeing what religion is good for you, I guess, right?
Yeah. And I think you, as a pastor, I feel like you understand that, like, we look up to you, right? Like, people in the church, we look up to you, to our other pastors here. And sometimes, yes, it is a lot of, like, weight to hold on your shoulders, to feel that people are, like, looking up to you and expecting you kind of to be perfect. And, like, the pastor, yes, he messed up, but that, like Carlos said, the pastor is human, and he did things that maybe will never truly be forgiven by the people that were affected. But it's, at the end of the day, like you said, you can't just cut off that whole religion or that whole church or your entire faith just because of that one person that, like, did something.
But what you say is so true, because sometimes it's so hard as a pastor to say, hey, I'm struggling with whatever. Because people have that expectation about you, and you don't want to discourage people. You know, you want people to look at you and say, hey, you're the best. You know, I'm proud of you. And it's so hard because to be open and transparent and say, you know,
I'm struggling with this or
whatever. It's so hard, but I think we need to change that culture.
Yeah.
I think we need to start being more open, more transparent, and as a pastor, I also need to start be more hot. You know, open, honest, open, and transparent.
Yep. And I think actually that's one of the things that separates toxic religions and healthy religions, right? The understanding that we're all human. Yeah. Right? Because if we're all like over here pretending we're saints or whatever, the moment somebody messes up, everybody's going to judge them. Everybody's going to look at them dirty. Like, but if we're a healthy religion, right, to where we understand that we're all humans, we're all going to mess up, and we're all in the same boat, it just makes it so much easier. Right? For example, let's say the pastor was struggling with something, they come out, and instead of being the first person, oh, he's a pastor, he's blah, blah, blah. Like, instead of going out and judging and pointing that out for them, like, if you're just understanding that he's a human too, it's gonna make it way easier. They can talk about their problems, we can talk about their problems, together we work through it, right? But that only comes through understanding that we're all here, we're all the same, and we're all imperfect humans, right? That we're gonna mess up. And I think that's the number one thing that you can fix to turn a toxic religion to a healthy religion. Just boom.
When we were like brainstorming earlier, we were talking about how, like, love is like truly like the key to having that relationship with God. If you love God throughout the obstacles, throughout the challenges that you might face, you're still gonna be there and like be strong, have that strong relationship with him, because you're never gonna find the perfect religion or the perfect church. There's always gonna be a problem, sadly, because, I mean, what do you think Satan wants to do? He wants to get us to stop, like, believing in God or trusting in him, right? Especially just like stop trusting God. But we have to understand, like Carlos said, nobody's gonna be perfect in a church. We have to be like transparent with each other, understand that we're sick, right? That we're coming here because we're sinners. We're coming here not because we're perfect, but because we're sinners. You get me? Yeah. Like, because we want to, even as sinners, we want to create that relationship with God and hopefully one day go up in heaven with him and have that perfect life that we've been dreaming about, you know?
Everyone wants to be more loving. But this is the problem. What do you think God used to help us grow in love?
Obstacles, challenges.
Other people, other imperfect people that, you know, treat you bad, that do things to you that you don't like. God used those problems, those circumstances to teach you, to teach me, to teach us how to love more. Maybe you're asking, Lord, I don't want to be in this place anymore. But God is using that place to transform you, to help you, to love more, to be more kind. Maybe it's the circumstance that you're going through right now, what God is using to develop God's like character.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, have you guys do you guys remember a video that was called "This is why I hate religion but love Jesus"? It came out like 11 years ago. I watched it again like 2 hours ago. It has 35 million views. And I remember it was so popular because it was this like cool young guy and he was like rapping. And he was like, "Let me tell you why I love Jesus but hate religion." And he says that Jesus came to abolish religion. Right? He says he came to get rid of religion. And then he starts like saying all these things of what Jesus was trying to do, and then what religion really is. So let me ask you guys, do you think that Jesus came to abolish religion?
I think he came to abolish toxic religion.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
You know?
I think also he came I don't think he came to abolish like religion, but it's just he doesn't want all this separation that there is. Because as there's so many religions, and it's good because we all have different beliefs right now and different faiths and different principles and morals, but he didn't want all that separation. He wanted us to be united, to be a family, because like in heaven we're all gonna be one big family.
But toxic religion does not want that.
Yeah, exactly. Toxic religion would not want that.
Toxic religion is legalistic. Salvation is based on works. So if you want to be saved, you need to work. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to follow the certain rules. If you really want to be saved, okay, this is the list of things that you need to do. And that's a problem because in the Bible we find that salvation is not through the things that we do, but through God's grace. So the second problem of a toxic religion is judge others. They just look outside of their own bubble and they start pointing on people. You're sinful. Yeah. You are transphobic or whatever. And they start, just and pointing on others.
I feel like people forget that biblically it says the only one worthy to judge is God himself. Yeah. Because why? He's perfect. I'm not going to judge someone because I'm imperfect. Do I? At times I do because I'm imperfect and I will judge. But I shouldn't because I'm a sinner too. I'm imperfect. Like, I wouldn't want someone judging me, so why do that onto them,
We all have a little toxic religion in our heart. And there's a third thing. It's like a toxic religion, it's focused on individualism. I don't care about others. I don't care about what others are going through. I'm just caring about
me, myself,
my problems. And I. Me, myself, and I.
And legalism is individualistic too.
Yes.
And legalism says, what can I do to have salvation?
Yeah. But also, what can I do to help others have salvation, I think is important. Because God sent us here to spread his word, right? To make sure that everyone one day knows about Jesus and his purpose of dying in that cross for us. And so, yes, I feel like number one thing to do when you're trying to create a relationship with God is, focus on that foundation, having that relationship with God, having that good relationship with God. But then, like you said, don't forget about going and sharing it to others, because you don't want to be we sometimes are selfish and we're like, it's like you want to save yourself. Like if a house is burning, you're going to want to save yourself at times, right? But this isn't, the house is burning, yes, like this world, right? One day it's going to just end. But like, don't you want to have that heart to make sure that I try to save as many people as I can from that eternal hell? You get me? You want to see, like, I would love to see Carlos and Sebas and Jafet and Koki in the back. Like, I would love to see them all in heaven with me. And I'm pretty sure, or I hope, you guys would love to see me too, right? Because, like, I mean, I love you guys. I think you guys are my family. So why wouldn't I want to help you be saved? You get me? So I feel like that's the most important thing. God is love. And as loving others, you're going to want them to be saved one day.
But when I don't have assurance of salvation, when I don't have that confidence in Christ, what happened? I'm just focused on me. I'm worried all the time. Estoy lleno de temor todo el tiempo, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. But when I have assurance of salvation, when I have that confidence that in Christ I'm saved, what's the next step? To save others. That's the same thing they teach us in safety. The first thing that you need to do is to make sure that you're okay. Yeah. And then you can go and help others.
Yeah. So exactly.
When you have that assurance of salvation,
then you can go and help.
Then you can go and help others and reach others and show grace through your life, through your action, through your kindness.
So like you were saying about that video where it says like you shouldn't care about religion, just your relationship with God. But the thing is that in order to go save others, like the religion, the church, it's what like builds that. It's like when you're at church, you have all this support to make sure you can go out into that community and help others. And I understand like with the Hillsong controversy, people left church, but I would encourage those people to find a church that you like, that you enjoy, that is doing good, because religion is important. It's not just about like, oh, as long as I believe in Jesus, but religion helps you create that relationship with Jesus, helps you like, I feel like being here at church is just strengthens my relationship with God, It helps me. It makes my job easier of like having others who believe the same things I believe, who in our case like grew up with the same morals and principles as me, that understand what I want to do with my relationship with God and are going to help me and support me throughout that, So that's why I feel like religion is important, because you have that church that you can go to,
But it's more than that, It's a religion that is focused on grace, that is focused on helping others, that is not always, pointing fingers.
Judging,
and also it's a church that cares about truth. Because there's another extreme that we can say, no, now truth is not important. It's just about how do I feel. It's not just about, it's just about how the music make me feel. No, I'm not discrediting that, but what I'm saying is like truth is important because the Bible is truth. So we need also to be aware that the foundation of the church is the truth. It's not a feeling, it's not an emotion, it's not a temporary thought, it's something deeper than that. So in order for us to be a healthy religion, we need to be full of grace, we need to be full of empathy, we need to stop judging others, and we need to follow the truth in God's Bible, in the Bible. So that's really important. And maybe there's someone that now is feeling that, oh, I'm going through a situation. Maybe I'm on a toxic church, on a toxic religion. What should I do?
That's actually something that I was going to say. What's it called? So I remember Bisama back in one of his classes, right? He was kind of pushing the same thing we are right now. Like, if you see something wrong, right, instead of using that as an excuse to leave it, and the exact words that Pastor Bisama said, he said, do something about it. Right? Not just sit there and watch it just crumble or whatever. He said, if you see something wrong and you disagree with that and you want to go somewhere else because somewhere that doesn't have that, like, you're wrong. Like, you're
still going to have
you're being a coward,
problem,
right? If something's wrong there, you got to go fix it. You got to go do something about it. You can't just run away from all your problems, right? And he was saying, go do something about it, right? And I feel like personally, I'm kind of doing that right now. Right, because at one point Revive kind of died, right? And
ironically, Revive
died.
We got puns here.
Revive the program.
Revive the program.
Revive.
But yeah, there you go. We came together and we were like, we gotta fix this. Yeah. Right? It's dead every week. Like, let's do something about it. Instead of just like, oh, let's just not come to Revive.
You're doing the same thing.
I mean, you could even say like this podcast kind of died, But hey, we're back.
Shout out to
it's kind of like if you're on a boat with other people and like there's a crack and it's filling with water. You're you're like, all right, I'm out, and you jump in the ocean.
Exactly.
Right?
Like it's
you gotta fix it because the other people on the boat with you, and sometimes a lot of times in church, especially young people, from what I've seen, they get discouraged with their church. Sometimes I think rightfully so, because I think something that we haven't mentioned is that when church leaders hurt others, it makes a huge impact, right? And Jesus points that out, right? When a church leader who has the truth, has a position of power and influence, hurts someone in the church, that has ripples and effects that, again, Jesus says, like, beware of those of you that are stumbling blocks to others, because you will be judged rightfully. So when young people see things happen in the church, the instinct is to kind of, okay, let's get away from this, let's deconstruct, let's find something else, instead of saying, let's fix the foundation that we have here and try to build this towards other people. So let me ask you guys are younger than us here.
I'm still young.
Right, we're also young. But there's kind of a cycle, right? Like the cycle that the church kind of researches that around 17, 18 is when young people decide to stay or leave. And for those that leave, eventually they might come back when they have kids, because now they want their kids to have an experience. Sure. So for you guys, what is keeping you here?
Oh man,
I think first of all, I think like each other. Like I feel like that's keeping me here. Like
community.
Yeah, like I mean, I grew up with Carlos. I grew up with Vicky, with Katia, with all my friends, and I feel like the fact that they're still here like makes me want to still come, because like they're my friends. It's like, why wouldn't I want to? But also because like Carlos said, there's things like that in church I would like to fix, and instead of like, I've tried running away and like distancing myself, and it's just not. I didn't like it. It wasn't healthy for me, because it just feels like you're in like an unstable, like you're just rocking, like like you're like, oh, this, or like just hopping around. Me personally, it just didn't work for me. Everyone's different, so it depends. But it's like, I know this church, I know how much potential it has, and I would love to be a part of what like that did something, to make it what it is now, and just have something to just pass down to generations that are coming up, instead of like having them start from the bottom, because I feel like it's getting harder in the world that we live in to keep religion, faith, and like being involved in church alive. I think it's getting harder, but I feel like if you have that foundation for them ready, it'll be easier for them to just continue and just like take over, like I can't wait to see like the little ones just be here in this table, hopefully one day, and like doing that podcast, like I feel like that would be a blessing, and it would make me, like, selfishly, it would make me feel amazing that I helped build that, so
I mean, me personally, why I'm here, it's not as touching as that. I'm being completely honest. I'm kind of here because I really don't got anything else to do. Like, if I wasn't here, I'd probably be like on my phone at home or whatever, right? So at least here, I have some type of social conversations with some people, right? And if I'm doing it through God, that's even better. Amen. Right? But yeah, that's one of my reasons. Another reason being like, I would be disappointed in myself if I wasn't here. I'm in charge of the thing, right? So if I'm over here planning it and I'm not liking it like that, what am I doing, right? That's like people who don't like Subway. Like, you made the sandwich. How do you not like the Subway sandwich? Like, you made it, right? It's the same thing here. Like, I'm literally in charge of trying to organize this Revive type thing, right? Even kind of this youth programs with the church and whatever, right? And if I wasn't here, that makes no sense, right? If I'm organizing it, why would I not be here? Right, like I should be doing it to what the youth like, so I would like it, so I would be here, right? That's mostly my reasoning to being here. It's not as touching as, I want to prepare for the future or whatever. Like,
no, but you think that it's touching, bro, in the context of that you're here to serve, that your purpose is to serve, is to do something. Like, I don't want to be just with my arms crossed, in my bed. I just want to be involved. Because God give you leadership, God give you ideas, God give you talent, and you want to use that. Maybe right now you're trying to figure out how I'm going to do it, but what God put inside of you is so powerful, is so great, that maybe you don't understand why you're doing it, but you feel the need to do something. So right now I'm encouraging you to keep doing it, because what God is doing through you is amazing. Maybe you think, this is nothing, but just let me encourage you just that fire that you have inside of you, that desire of making a difference, is not just because you have an idea in your mind. It's God's fire that is burning in your heart. So that desire, that love that you have is what is gonna start, making a difference, not only in you, but also in the other generations that are looking at you and saying, oh, I just want to be like Carlitos. He's always in church, he's always involved, he's always doing something for God. Maybe you're not perfect like none of us, but you have that desire to create something better for the next generations, even though you're still part of this generation, so that's great.
I feel bad that I dislike my Subway sandwiches now, Carlos. Like me feel bad about it. But so two things. One, I've been doing this like for a while, right? I've been at this church for 15 years almost, doing the same thing. I've
been here for 17.
Right. And I feel like sometimes you get the sense, oh man, okay, another Sabbath school, another sermon, another program, another this. Right? It seems like it's repetitive, and sometimes you don't see the impact it does. And like, I don't mean to like put you on the spotlight, but when I heard you mention me in your sermon that like my Sabbath schools impacted you, to me that was like, God, this is the reason why. Just because it impacted one person, because you like people don't often come and tell you like, hey, this really impacted me, right? If it goes well, they just kind of let it slide, and so you don't really know the impact.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I was like, wow, I did, or God like through me helped impact somebody that's not preaching at the like El Servicio de la Mañana in church. It's a big deal. And so I was like, man, so I hope one day people come to you and tell you that this impacted them. But I had another question now, because you said like you couldn't be at home, right? You need to be here. So during COVID, a lot of church was at home, and when we came back from COVID, and we still kind of have the option to be at home and watching things, a lot of people decided to stay there. So what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about like?
I feel like we weren't home.
Me COVID. Personally, yeah.
We weren't home. That's
the moment like stuff kind of being like, oh, it's just COVID. Like it kind of started getting normal. I was the first person to take my mask off, go outside, like go do something. Because I just got nothing to do at home.
No, well, it's because this is prior to like Pastor Hafet. We had Pastor Josh, and Pastor Josh had like low-key like recently just gotten here, but we had kind of already connected with him. So then during COVID year, that's when I got really involved. Like COVID was a blessing in disguise, and I will say this forever and ever to my future kids, and those kids will tell them like COVID was a blessing for me in disguise, because it was like an eye opener. Like I was like, I need to connect with God. I need to get my everything together, because like it and also like since I had school online, I had so much free time. So I spent like literally all my day and night like here at the church or helping at the church, and it's what honestly led me to be like where I am today with like church and be so involved, because it was our generation's time to like lead, but we couldn't because like of COVID. But that's what made it even like more of a like something to strive for, because I mean it's torn down now, but we spent 3 days. What used to be right here was a room, guys, and they painted over them. But we spent like 3 days here trying to paint it, and then we cleaned out that room for like 2 days. That one was over there, and it's sad that it got torn down. But it's cool to see like
it's a lot nicer.
Yeah.
I'll say that right now.
You have to come and watch.
It was hard, but you know what? I mean, God had like a plan for us, and I think COVID was it could have been terrible for some people, but like I said, everything is like a personal experience. For me, it was genuinely a blessing in disguise. It's what led me to honestly be so involved in church right now, because like it lit that fire under me to start being involved and always wanting to stay involved and like have like FOMO of like church. Like like it's so bad.
Fear of missing out. Yeah, that's great.
Because there was nothing going on, right? So you couldn't really have FOMO about much, right? But whenever you started seeing stuff at church happen, you're like, dang, like that's something I could do, right? Since you're not doing anything, you're not doing schoolwork. Like, let's be honest here. We didn't do anything over COVID years or whatever. Zoom. So I also started getting involved a lot in church that year.
Do you guys remember like Zoom AYs?
Yeah, I remember those. Where we would play
Zoom,
the Kahoots.
Yeah, and Kahoots.
Yeah, we won a lot.
Do you guys think like there's something missing from going to church like that? Because again, I remember like Saturday morning sitting like in my pajamas at like the first COVID, watching it on TV, and my wife made us go get changed for church. She's like, "We're at church. We're gonna go dress for church," and she made us put on like our church clothes.
Pajamas.
I would be the
I would be in pajamas. I was like straight out of the shower or something.
Church is about community, and I think sometimes we are missing the point.
Yeah.
And when we focus on people, on understanding that not Jesus is the center, but people is central. Like, we have to care for each other. We have to understand that church is more than a program each weekend. Church is a community that we can connect, we can be honest, and we can grow together. I think that was made church special.
And I think the Hillsong thing was that it was a show, right? Like churches like Hillsong or Lakeview in Houston, if you've driven by, it's this huge church that you have to buy tickets to see Joel Osteen. It's a show, right? It's like a Taylor Swift concert, right?
Yeah.
It's like sitting and watching something. I am guilty of sometimes feeling like I just have to come and sit and watch at church, right?
Not gonna lie,
I watched the sermon, I did my part, let me go home, and not get involved at all.
Yeah.
I just want to watch, right? I want to be passive.
And that's so easy to fall on.
Yeah.
Because it's easy just to come and to watch, to be an spectator. To be part of the community takes effort. Takes, let me go out of my comfort zone. Let's speak out. Let's, be honest. And that's hard.
I mean, like, me personally, like, I feel like morning service, like, I just don't feel like I connect with God in the way I should be. But I feel like we have Sabbath school, and I do have an opportunity to do that, at least. But, like, morning service just hasn't hit yet for me. I don't know. Maybe because I've always had, like, this thing in my mind since I was little that morning service was for adults, right? So it kind of, it's engraved in me.
Wow.
It's engraved in me right now. And till this day, I'm, like, 17, but it's still engraved that, like, morning service is for adults. And, like, I'm not an adult. But, like, I'm getting to that point. So I'm, like, sometimes I try and sit there and I don't know, like, my eyes just close, I swear. Like, it's just not me.
That is so important to point out that, and that like, you're not alone. This is a phenomenon that happens church-wide. Is that there has to be a point where a young person says, I'm not sitting with my parents now. I'm here because I want to be here, and I'm part of this church. A lot of them decide to find other churches that do fit that. Okay, I want to find a church that the morning service is a play or is lights and lasers and stuff. So finding something that fits
that grabs your attention, right?
But so if church was just morning service, you wouldn't feel fulfilled. But you have all these other things that you connect with.
I have Revive. I have like being involved. I mean,
it would.
Yeah.
It
and then I mean, I also like
Pathfinders.
I can't hate on morning service because like me singing up there has always been some way that I've connected with God, and it's like a talent He gave me. So I feel like it's like my duty to like use it, right? And
my wife cried when you sang a couple of weeks ago, like a month ago, and she
was singing. I cried.
She doesn't.
I mean, I cried.
That was so touching.
Yeah.
I mean, I cried, but that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes I can't hate on morning service because that's the moment where I usually sing, right? Mostly, and it's like one way that I've really grown to connect with God, and that's why sometimes I'm like so picky about like songs and like song service because it's just like it's like sacred to me. It's special. It's like something that I feel like has to just like pull me, and it's just everybody has like their own maybe like that the sermon has to pull you or this, but for me it's like the music. That's my way of genuinely connecting with God and feeling the Holy Spirit, feeling His presence. And like it's just you just have to find it sometimes. And I'm not like I know I wish it could be, but like I wish morning service was just like a concert sometimes of just an hour of music, which we did have last week. Forgiven, shout out. But
we're shouting them out.
Yeah, we're shouting him out. But like it can't be that every time. Like you have to. I feel like the whole point of growing up and maturing is like adapting to what is given to you. Yeah. And so I feel like I just have to like find what like one piece of the sermon that called to me, like not focusing on the whole sermon as itself, but like maybe just meditating on one thing, that they said during morning service.
I used to tell this to my students, but I still tell them to this. Boring people are bored. Only boring people are bored. I tell this to them in class, right? And I realized this about myself in sermons, because I had the same issue, right? I would sit and I would criticize the sermon in my head. I'd be like, this pastor is not using the right Bible version or something, or this is not touching my spirit or whatever. And I realized it's me. I'm the problem, right? If a sermon is not touching me, it's because I'm not allowing the Holy Spirit to speak through whoever is up there personally in my life. Right? Any sermon, like you said, just one piece of any sermon, one verse they said, one joke they tell, right? One song in the morning could give you the little spark that you need for the rest of the week. And I think this is an issue, is that some people come to Sabbath morning service wanting the meal spiritually for the whole week. And it's eating that little bit. Remember my sermon, the Chick-fil-A sauce, just taking a little taste, right? I'm good for the week. Let me spend the whole week on just that one sermon and come back and refill again.
It's just not, week. It's imagine eating once a week.
And the healthy religion starts in that personal life with Jesus. I think we need to start there, because when our spiritual life grows, also my relationship with my friends, church, also grows. But everything starts there, in that personal time with God, praying for my friends, studying the Bible, having that time of not only making the tradition of, I have to read my devotional or the Sabbath lesson.
Yeah, it's not about like like you said, like a set time. It's more just like
just dedicate time to spend it with God, to spend it with Him, as a habit that you develop to grow in your spiritual life. And I think that will change your life forever, for sure.
Yeah, no, what's it called? I think that's actually a really good place to start in order to fix that toxic environment that you might be in, right? Because the moment you better yourself and you kind of get closer to God and start becoming a little bit more like Him, you'll realize how bad you were in the past, right? And then that'll get you to understand that that's what other people are struggling with too, right? It was like, you see how bad you were, that's where they're at, right? That's where you need to understand. And once you start understanding that, you're going to start just kind of little by little relieving that toxic tension. Little by little, you're just going to start treating them as one, right? Treating them as everybody else, because that's what we are. We're just human beings, right? And once you start understanding that, then you can really turn that toxic relationship, toxic environment, toxic religion into a healthy one that you can come to, and you can meditate with all your other people in a healthy way, right? I think that's a really good way to start.
Yes. And the things can be more complicated. For example, like if you're in a toxic religion, but for example, you speak out and you say, hey, we need to change this, we need to make a difference, but nothing happens. What we should do?
Look, man, I think you just got to push through it, because obviously there's going to be a lot of things that are going to go wrong. Sometimes people aren't going to listen. Sometimes people are just going to be just chilling, being lazy, right? But you just got to keep going, right? I actually bought a shirt, right? It's kind of cool. And it says, don't give up, keep going through, or something like that, right? It sounds kind of cringe on a shirt, but like, it's true, right? If something comes in your way and it's just not letting you keep going, you have to break through that, right? You have to break through that. And sometimes when it's super strong and you just can't get it, God can, right? And that's where you just got to connect with Him and just get through that with Him, right?
Yes. I think that's wise thing to do.
And I feel like for anybody like might be like struggling with faith, or like figuring out what religion it fits you, like or something. It's just like you said, like focus on the truth. Read your Bible. Like the Bible says the truth, and it's just that's the honestly like the only piece of it, like the best advice I could give was just like love God, and it like the rest will come. Like it's not always gonna come in the next day, but like just be patient. I feel like that's the key to finding what works for you, is being patient, because it's not. Sometimes it takes a year. I feel like if you've ever been in a relationship, you think, oh, this is the one, and you're like, oh no, it's not, and then you go for another one. But like, it's just you gotta be patient, because like God sends like the perfect person for you. Perfect, never perfect, but but like I feel like it's gonna be the same thing with like your church, your religion. He's gonna call you to that one that pulls you. And I feel like for me, obviously, it was the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So.
Yeah, I think we were gonna end it there because I think we went a little bit over time. But did you have something?
I thought we were giving advice, like one last piece of advice.
Dale.
So my piece of advice, just like you said, Juliet, would be get involved, right? If you're struggling with your church, first, like ask yourself, what is my relationship with this church? Am I a spectator, like Pastor Garcia said, or am I invested in this? Am I on the boat? Am I on the submarine and it's about to, too soon.
The pressure.
Too soon there.
That's too soon.
If you ask somebody something to do, you'll be given something to do at church. And this is kind of something I do with God all the time. And God does it all the time. I'll tell God, I want, like, give me the chance to preach. The next day, I have stories where I literally write like, God, please let me preach something I read this week, and I'll get a phone call in the next hour. Hey, somebody canceled on us. Can you come preach at this church? Like, I have like testimonies on that where God's like, all right, you asked for it. Be careful. God will give you something to do if you ask Him for something to do. And once you're involved in the mission of the church, which is again to bring people to Jesus, then like you said, you will focus on Him, and you will not be looking at other people or what they're doing or their faults, and you'll just be like, let's get everyone to heaven. Like one more, just like what's the name? The soldier guy, Desmond Doss, right? Give me one more, right? Let me not criticize what's going on. Let's just get as many people to heaven as we can.
I feel like
start with Jesus.
Amen.
With your personal relationship with Jesus. Walk with Him every day. Small steps, baby steps. And without noticing, you will be running. But you start with baby steps.
Start with milk.
But yeah, okay, I think that's where we're gonna end our first podcast with the CVV Youth. This will be out in Spotify, Apple, YouTube. So stay tuned for whenever this is out, and stay tuned for the next one. Also follow us on Instagram at CDV Youth. Am I correct?
Yes.
At CDV Youth. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on. Do we have a Facebook?
Yes.
We do have a Facebook.
It's kind of dead. Go on Instagram. Go on Instagram. Follow us on there.
If you're gonna go on Facebook, go to Iglesia Central del Valle, not Youth CDV.
Yes.
Or CDV Youth.
If you made
follow
it
on
this far,
Instagram.
Go on Threads.
Yeah. If you made it this far, stay tuned for the next one. There's gonna be a giveaway. He didn't know that, but I'm telling you.